What's up, world?
Well,
y'all know what it is.
You already know what time it is.
It's the Sace and Soulfly show.
And who you be?
I'm your girl, Mocha Soulfly.
And I don't give a damn if I'm sitting next to three men. It's always gonna be the introduction of his big daddy. Right here. Come sit on my lap. It's your girl out Sace doing our thing right now. You know what I mean? So,
listen, we have some very special guests, and we're not going to go into our normal dialogue because there's something very special I want to talk about today, which I'm so excited about because, as some of you may or may not know, I'm definitely a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, like
I definitely believe
crazy
in UFOs, and we've seen all this stuff happening now with disclosure.
Yeah,
and I'm so excited about it. I've been watching this shit like nonstop. It's
yeah, she spent hours.
The hearings, but not only the government hearing with Congress, but the public hearings that happened right before it to kind of spawn that one on. That's the good one. But there's like multiple tapes out there. So our guests, now we are still, because you all are hip hop artists, and this is the 50th anniversary of hip hop. We're gonna talk about that too, but we have some special guests. We got Flo in the building, and we'll have them talk a little bit more about themselves. We got Monster in the building, and we got your boy Excalibur Gio in the building.
let me tell you something. These guys right here,
dope MCs.
Just real quick before we jump into it, they have always been phenomenal MCs to me. I can remember especially seeing stuff like Human Resources. You know, I can remember when it was Edgar Allan Flow, then it was Bump Theory. I can the unorthodox way of just being prolific at MCing is the definition of these three gentlemen sitting right here. They are that. So first of all, thank you guys for being here. 50 years of hip hop, and you guys are sitting with us. So can you give them a clues bomb, a clap or something, or did the edible hit you already? Shit. That's why I gotta put my headphones. That's what it is.
You know, I should be on his game.
Well, give another one then. Give another one, just because I asked for.
Okay,
and
so
I even had my edibles.
Now don't forget to get up to the mic, guys. Okay. So we are super excited. We are gonna dive into UFOs. So
dive it in.
Many moons ago, I cannot remember how long ago. One of you probably do remember the time frame that has lapsed, but these guys came to my house. I think it was right around when my father had passed. And I don't think Monster was there, but definitely Gio and Flo was there, of course. And they came over and, you know, was just loving on me and stuff with a group of our friends. Shout out to Space Camp. And and they told this vivid story. Like, I still remember it to this day. I swear to God, as if I was there, because I'm so intrigued with the UFOs. So I want you guys, in any order, however y'all want to do it, tell us about your UFO encounter. Oh my God.
I'll start off with it's a two-part story.
It's a two-part story.
Okay.
It starts off with me. I was in my front yard. I had just recently started looking at the stars. I was just getting into stargazing, really. And I didn't have a telescope or nothing like that. I just loved looking at the stars late at night. And I was obviously chiefing at that time. But I would look at the stars and, look for shooting stars, anything that was moving. And I started seeing these things that I thought that were satellites that were slowly drifting across the sky. And I would just... And then they would disappear. And I was like intrigued by that. I was like, okay, wow, that's cool. I'm gonna stay out here and look for more of those. And the awkward thing is that there was more of those things. And then I started seeing more and more weird things like stars that looked like they were just regular. And then all of a sudden it looked like a lighthouse light that would just turn around. It was the weirdest stuff. And then, my friend come over and he was drunk. So this is what really made me think I was crazy, because he was drunk when he showed up and we were shooting the shit, and he was trying to get me to drink, and I was like, nah, I ain't feeling it right now. I'm good with smoking. And I'm looking up at the sky, and all of a sudden I see a flock of birds. Okay. And I'm like, okay, yeah, it's a triangle formation. It's a triangle formation. It looks like crows. They're all black birds. And so I was like, okay, yeah, that's fine. They're all flying together. It's random, but okay. But then I noticed behind the flock of birds was an invisible pin. It looked like the tip of a church steeple.
Okay.
But it was invisible, fitting perfectly behind this triangle formation of birds. And so it didn't make sense to me because it stayed perfect. It was like those birds were messy everywhere in that triangle formation, but right behind that point, it was perfect. And it looked like something was behind it. So I kept my eyes on it and I was like, this is crazy. I don't know what this is, but it doesn't seem like a flock of birds anymore. I was like, it seemed like some type of hologram. And then I turn to my boy and I go, do you see what I see? And he goes, yeah. I go, what do you see? And he says, I see a flock of birds. And I said, that's what I thought. I go, but do you see the tip behind the flock of birds that's inside of it? And he was like, yeah, I see it. And I was like, well, what do you think about it? He goes, I think it's a flock of birds. And then he starts crying.
Oh my God.
This is a grown man. He starts crying. He had a 40. He had a 32 ounce, I think, of Budweiser, and he was already done with it. And so when I'm trying to, communicate with him, like, you see what I see, right? He starts tearing up, and he's like, it's a flock of birds. And it made me feel like I was going through some mental illness.
Yeah.
Like he was crying, feeling bad for me. You know what I mean? And I was like, damn, maybe something happened. You know what I mean? Somewhere down the road, I got dropped on the head or something. And so I just never minded his crying and continued to look at this thing. So he's standing there teary-eyed, and I'm following this thing, and the moon is a big factor in this because it was a full moon.
Okay.
And I don't know if you guys have ever been out in the middle of the night when it's a full moon and it's kind of foggy, and sometimes it has an aura on the outside of that fog of the moon. So it looks like, you know what I mean? It looks like
a little glow.
Exactly. Like a halo.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, it was one of those nights. And so the whatever this thing was went from going upward into the sky, and then it leveled out flat. And that was the coolest thing I ever seen, because the first thing I thought was, damn, that looks like looks like a bat wing. And I was like, well, Gio, Batman's not real, you know what I'm saying? Like, what are you seeing, bro? And I was like, I don't know, it's cool as fuck, but it's creepy as hell. So this thing, when it levels out, it starts going towards the aura of that halo of the moon, and it exposes the whole craft, because whatever was behind the hologram of these birds, this flock of birds, was, if you guys have ever seen Predator, and y'all seen the technology that they are trying to use, which is the camouflage, and it's kind of see-through, it's really moving. This was more perfect than that. It was like hard to understand. It was see-through, and it matched the sky. And what was in front of it was like a deception of birds. Okay, and I didn't see it until it hit the aura. Okay, so it goes into the aura of the moon, and it tries to mimic the line going across the aircraft. And so the aircraft is flying, and the aura is like this. And when it goes through it can't do it. It can't copy it because it's three-dimensional. So it shoots it all through it, three-dimensional, and exposes the whole vehicle. And then I saw that it was a saucer-like, but it had like a scorpion tail or stingray tail that was like right down the middle. And that's when I thought it was the creepiest thing ever, because I was like, that don't look military. That looked like...
I'll jump in here 11 years ago. It's like when this happens, and this dude, what he just described to everybody listening is exactly what he drew on this cocktail napkin or something. Comes white, pale as a ghost. This Hispanic motherfucker, pale as a ghost, comes busting into my kitchen at the time. He's gonna drive us to the airport or something. And I'm like, what is wrong with this guy? And he's like, dude, I gotta tell you guys. So he tells the story he's just told us, but he's got this napkin and this piece of paper in his hand. He's drawn this rounded saucer with a scorpion tail, black and shaped like a saucer, and describes the story. And didn't counter it. I just was like, holy crap, that's crazy.
Yeah.
We went on about our trip. That was kind of that for the next year and a half. And then
I think he told me at that day, he was like, he goes, I don't know if I can believe it. He goes, but you look and sound like you believe you saw something. And I go, okay, cool. I was like, yeah, because I do.
Yes.
So this thing, it doesn't even stop there, guys. It gets even creepier. I couldn't leave it alone. Because it's me, I couldn't leave it alone. I had a little expensive flashlight, and it was so bright it would shoot up in the sky. You could see its little ray at nighttime. And my dumb ass pulled that bitch out and flashed it. I flashed it after I saw it to let them know, hey, I see y'all. I don't know what the hell I was thinking.
Right.
I don't know what the hell I was thinking, y'all. So when I did it, it just kept going southeast. Both times we saw it actually went southeast, and it just kept going down that way until I couldn't see it anymore. But what happened after that same month, some weird activity started happening in my car. I had an Acura TL, and I would come out and chief every now and then, sit in my car and listen to my jams and stuff. And all of a sudden, I started getting locked in my car. Yeah, and so I thought it was the key battery. I thought it was electrical. I went through all this stuff, and I was like, I found out everything's fine in my car. So I was like, okay, cool. Well, I'm just gonna never mind it. And I'm sitting in the car, and I go to get out of my car, and it locks me in. And I'm like, okay, I'm ready to get out now, right? So I go to unlock it.
Joke's over.
Yeah. I was like, okay.
Oh my gosh.
So I go, and then when I go this time to open the door, it's doing like Morse code through the locks.
Just like kind of going up and down.
Up and down faster than you can press the button with itself. Yeah. Because when I push the button, it's like beep, beep, click, click. And it don't matter how fast I go, it's beep, beep, click, click.
Sure.
This thing was doing all this crazy shit, right? And then my brother would come home late night, and he was like, bro, what's going on with your life? And I was like, what do you mean, bro? He's like, it's 3 o'clock in the morning and your car's talking outside. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, it's doing Morse code and shit with the fucking turn signals and all this crazy shit. He's like, I'm gonna pray for you. Yeah. And I was like, okay, whatever, bro. It got so bad that that I didn't know what to do, so I just kind of sent a message out there verbally and was like, I can't understand y'all. I was like, I'm not gonna go get the Morse code book. I'm not the one. Y'all creep me out, and I don't want to talk about it no more. So I was like, please leave me alone. Yeah. And I just shot that out in the universe like that. Disappeared. Until.
Oh shit. Hello?
We were at your crib.
Yeah.
2 years later.
Come up on the mic.
Sorry, we were at Monster's crib in Denton, and at the time he was out in a place that wasn't, house next to house. People had land. There was space between the houses. There wasn't so much city light. Yeah. It was like kind of in the dark part of Denton. You could see the lights of Denton, right? Mm-hmm. You could see more stars than you could of like anywhere else further closer to Dallas. Mm-hmm. But we were at his house in the studio, kicking it, working on music, just hanging out. And we stepped outside to take a smoke break, and it was us 3 and your homie
Crystal Vaso.
Okay. Yeah. And he's got like a little porch or whatever, and so we're all over there talking, clowning or whatever. Yeah. And then Gio walks out into the yard, and he's kind of facing us at the porch, and he's talking. And if I'm correct, I feel like he was telling the story about what he saw, and then he stepped out he turned around, and he was like, he got real quiet, and we're like, Jill, what's up? And he's like, y'all see it? And so we all look up, and I saw it, and
describe what you saw, Flo.
It was like
now I need to know. Come on.
Exactly. It was creepy, man, but it was huge. right? First off, is the magnitude of the size of it, because I felt the way I was seeing it was that it was pretty damn low because it was cut in the clouds. The clouds were behind it.
When I saw it was like at a 747 height, like it was already up high. When
this was not
we all saw it the second time, it was low.
This is
so Gio was telling Chris LaVezo the story. You were correct.
And they were those high.
Gio was telling Chris LaVezo the story. So Chris was up on the porch talking to my ex-wife at the time. She goes back in. Y'all are fucking idiots. Whatever. She slams the door. It's when she slammed the door that we all turned and looked at Gio. Chris was still enjoying his smoke break, so he did not see. It's unfortunate. Still to this day, like we'll talk to him. He's like, man, I didn't see the same thing y'all saw. But so, anyways, back to you, sir, and what you were saying about what you saw, because it's all pertinent, you know. So
so I look up, and it takes me a minute, and let's say we're standing like this, right, and we're facing out, and we've got a full view from this horizon to that horizon of just sky, right?
Nighttime.
And there's a little bit of clouds, but not heavy cloudage. And I see a line. It was kind of like a purplish line or haze in a boomerang-ish shape. And and it was moving.
Did you say a boomerang is shaking?
So this I'm just following in the order of my processing what the hell's going on.
Okay. Got it. Let's go.
And it's like a boomerang.
I'm like this.
And then I'm like, man, that shit's huge. But you can see it, but you can't see it. Like, should I see this? Like, should I be seeing this? And and it's moving slow. And when I see it, Jill's in the yard, and I look up and I step out next to him. And then Ian comes out next to him, and we're all standing out there looking. And it's coming all across the horizon, and it's moving slow. So the longer you're looking at it, you're fixed on it, you can see it. Like, okay, it's barely there, but it's bending the stars.
It, in quote, like air quotes, seeing it is like just seeing like a refraction of what your eyes are trying to see. It's like it's like the stars refracted around this V-shaped boomerang, scorpion-tailed flying saucer thing, and it was just like adapted around the stars. And I'm not trying to hijack your story.
It's all good.
It's pertinent to know that the slowness and the visibility of what we saw was momentary. By the time that Chris looked up over at us, we're all jaw dropped like this. He's like, what the fuck are you guys looking at? It's gone at this point because it had gone from moving slow and fully visible to moving in a way that is not physically possible. So I'm talking about diagonals, and it's hovering, goes left, it goes up, it goes down, and it's lightning fast. So as fast as his locks are going up and down in his car, this plane ship saucer thing is just moving. But the last bit I'll say before back to your story is that the proximity to where we were to the old nuclear silos and the nuclear bases in FEMA, you're talking about who knows what its grand purpose was in that very moment, whether Giovanni manifested it by telling the story or if by some grand divine purpose that story was being told while this ship occurred to make sure we weren't about to fire some missiles off. Who knows what its purpose was? All I do know is it definitely went and checked those missile silos. It was back in a matter of us to try to explain to Chris what it was that we had seen. And so that's what I remember.
Yeah, it was
what had happened was
not what had happened was
the way it bended the sky was just it was like it was supposed to look better. That's how I think of it. Like the stars just couldn't reflect perfectly through it, right? Like
that's what gave it away.
And that's what gave and you could see it, and that's how you could see it moving because it was like a path, and you're like, wait a minute, dude.
It looked like clear. It looked like clear slime going through.
I think it like Klingon.
Saying the Predator cloak, like
Cloak,
or the Klingon
which I can think of how that looks.
I think of the Klingons, man. That Klingon cloaking, dude. Like that's what it looked like.
Yeah.
So let me go ahead.
Real
please
quick.
Finish.
So on my side of what happened the second time was we were in Mustard's front porch, and we were getting ready to leave, but we were about to chief, and we had started that chief, and so that also made me feel like I was going crazy, because I was like, damn, maybe that's what happened, and I'm making this up, and they're here, and they're gonna see me go crazy again, because I had already told them I went crazy by saying it the first time. So I was like, okay, no. I stepped out into the yard, and it's so beautiful out in Crum. There's no light pollution, so you can almost see the dust in the Milky Way and the stars out there. Yeah. And that's what I was telling Munster. I was like, bro, I go, it's so beautiful out here. It's perfect. I go, it's perfect skyline to see some of that stuff I saw. And then, oh my God. Okay, and then I'm looking out into the stars, and I see the damn flock of fucking birds again. Sorry, excuse my language.
No, you good.
No, we cuss here.
I see. Okay, cool. I see these motherfucking flock of birds, and I feel like I'm about to have a heart attack, because I'm like, not again. You know what I mean? Yeah. So the flock of birds is in the sky, and they didn't see this, because when they were trying to figure out what I was seeing, what I saw was the vehicle descend. It was in the sky at treetop level, and it was like it looked at us on the yard. Wow. And it fucking descended, and I put my hand on Joel's shoulder, because I was terrified that they were gonna take us and nobody gonna know about it. Yeah. I mean, that's how deep low they descended. And I put my hand on Joel's shoulder, and I go, Joel, do you see that? And I said, do you see what the fuck I see? And his jaw dropped. And when his jaw dropped, Mustard saw it, and he jumped off them steps so quick, and he looked up, and his jaw dropped. Yeah. And then that kind of validated me. Okay, maybe I'm not going crazy then. But then his homeboy jumped out, and he had glasses, and he didn't see it. So it's safe to say that 3 out of 4 people can see this thing. Yeah. You know what I mean? And you can have glasses and not see it. So, I mean, it takes a really trained and a good eye that can see at night, you know?
Good night vision.
Yeah, good, decent night vision to see this vehicle, because it was the creepiest thing ever.
There's no sound.
There's no sound. Zero propulsion.
In fact, there was no sound around it. There was a vacuum of sound.
Yeah.
Nothing.
There was like a vacuum of sound. It was
so. And what I love about just the way that you all are describing this encounter, it is like so in line with thousands and thousands of other people around the world who have seen similar things, and they describe it very similarly, whether it be, you know, sometimes different shapes and things like that. But I've even heard, like when you said boomerang, I can picture that just based on the research that I've done and the things I've seen of other people's drawings or what they've captured or whatever the case is, to kind of get a grip on or an understanding of what you guys are describing, you know. Absolutely. Not being able to hear any sound, like no propulsion, nothing that is possible when it comes to the technology that we have today among any military power that exists.
Or that we know of.
Yeah.
Right. Let's add that, at least that we know of.
Yeah.
Yo,
it was pretty terrifying.
That's just scary, bro.
Yeah.
It was terrifying. It made me think about people that go missing. It really did. When it descended the way it did, I was like, this is that type of technology.
And you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
It moves in such silence that you wouldn't know.
You wouldn't know.
Like the way that Caution gave us a clap on that board earlier, like you wouldn't know. It moves in such silence.
Right. Yeah. If that thing would have picked one of us up, nothing anybody could have done. Anybody could have done it.
And nobody probably would have believed the people that would have saw it.
That thing was so big.
Somebody saw it.
Yo, it was so big.
Don't believe me.
It was probably the size of a 747 Boeing when it came down. It was like a big spaceship.
Huge.
Yeah. I was just like, this is unnecessary. What is this thing for?
So let me ask you guys this: with having that that experience, how has that impacted your beliefs or your perspectives? You know, when it comes to like life beyond Earth.
I'll start. I've always been kind of an explorer of the great beyond or the unknown, and like chartering happily into the void of the unknown. And so as at the youngest of ages, I can remember having like a space headset on and trying to talk to aliens and other planets. And I mean, I was a Trekkie, and you know, all like last Starfighter, you know, anything that had to do. I would build like immense spaceships with Legos with my, like one of my best friends, Stuart, growing up. Like we would build just. I think I've always looked up to the stars, and I've always been just infatuated by what else is out there. If we're intelligent life, quote unquote, if we're sentient at least, what else is sentience? What is sentience? Is it a truly organic thing to Earth? Is it existence itself? What is existing? And like, what is existing beyond the skin suits we're in? And like, as we maneuver as like these like vibrations of sound, we're like all sine waves, just like all mashed together, vibrating all, tightly as these humans. What is existing outside of it? I've always questioned these things. So I think that validation that I got from experiencing Giovanni's story that I had always relished and taken in, like to your point, and tell me if I'm wrong here, bro, but like I never questioned you about it.
No, you didn't.
I just said, dude, I've never seen anything like that, but I believe that you believe it.
Yeah.
So when that occurred,
That's exactly what he said.
that was, that was just absolute.
And I didn't know how to take it either. I was like, does that mean?
It was absolute though. My
You think
point is
I'm
it was
crazy?
absolute. So it has shaped I don't know if that one event shaped me any more than to say that it just confirmed for me knowing that there is just more, and that we are all just a part of it, and I operate under that epistemology anyway, so yeah.
What about you, Flo?
Word. That was my second experience.
Okay.
So I think my prior was when I was like 12, 13 years old. It was me and my best friend. So we used to live in Irving, and we ran the streets a lot. So, especially at night. So we were out one night, snuck out of the house, going visiting girls at their house, talking to them at their windows. And we stopped somewhere near his neighborhood, it's suburbs of Irving in the 90s. And we post up on the back of somebody's car. And we're like, yo, let's take a break. We've been doing a lot of walking. So we post up on the back of this dude's car, or whoever's car, and lay back on the window. And we're just watching the stars, talking. You know what I mean? Like, 12-year-olds talk about anything under the world. And watching the stars, and pretty good view. I mean, the best that you could get at that time, but it was pretty clear night. And we saw light far, like far in space, right? Like far, it looked like a star. And we're like, and it's moving semi-slow, right? We're like, well, that's way too far to be like one of them jets. We're like, maybe it's a satellite, right? Yeah. And so we're just watching it, and then that shit speeds up and just starts cutting directions and disappears, shoots off. And we both saw it, we're both watching it, and we're just like, what? You know what I mean? We're like, no way, what did we just see, right? So that was my first experience. Then be able to follow it up with and share it with friends, which was a cool bonding experience for us, right? It's cool to share that stuff with other people, those moments in your life that are profound or eye-opening.
Just not knowing I wasn't crazy was the icing on the cake for me, because I was
I'm just realizing now that we all have, this is coming in series of 2. So like my actual first experience was less UFO and more just like unidentified energy. If that's I think that's the best way to explain it. So this story is, I had moved up to Denton in like 2002. So this is maybe 2002, 2003. I'd come back home down to Austin. I was crashing at my mom's place in my old bedroom, like my old high school bedroom, whatever. I had not drinking anything that night. I'm to this day not a big drinker, but especially at like 21, 22, I really didn't drink at all. I was a big chiefer, still am, but definitely like herb was my choice, my go-to. But it's 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, so it had been a couple hours since I had burned. And I'm laying in bed, and I'm chilling there. I'm just like trying to crash out or whatever. And this orb, this white orb of just like pure light, this like pure white light orb just like starts forming like above me, right? And I'm like watching this thing, and it's like getting more and more intense and focused and real like is in 3-dimensional. And the thing shoots through me faster than I've ever experienced anything. And for that moment, I can't explain the euphoria and bliss and divine peace that I experienced for like the momentary, like it's the split second, but I can hold on to that moment for as long as I want to, and I feel it right now. But not quarters of seconds later, these like Rorschach ink blot type dark matter masses start accumulating, 3 of them. And as fast as that white orb went through me, those things shot through me, boom, boom, boom. And I've never felt such cold and such void and such nothingness. Dude, I grabbed the pillow and the blanket and I went out into that couch, and I never once set foot into that bedroom again. And I don't know what that was. I don't know if that's ghosts or whatever. All I know is it was some kind of extraterrestrial energy that passed through me, phased through me, that I experienced. I know wholeheartedly it was not intoxicated. So that's my second story. And that's
I have a question. I have a question for you. Why do you think that the unidentified energy presented you with peace first, and then this other
I don't
energy?
even question it. I don't even like wonder why. It's like I know why. I know that that entity was escaping. It was looking for a pathway to escape whatever those things were. Like if there's a chase scene in a movie, it was that. And those were like creatures after the light. That was darkness after the light. Like that is like incarnate darkness after the light, and there's no other way to put it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I don't know how much time y'all got, because I got a couple paranormal stuff.
Well, we're talking UFOs tonight. We might have to bring you back. Yeah,
you're gonna be talking all that.
Around to the paranormal, because that's a whole another thing.
That was very odd. Just odd. It wasn't like a humanoid. It wasn't like a spirit, or like I feel like it was a person. It was just out of this world. It was out of this world, man. Yeah, 100%.
What about you, Gio? How has it shaped your perspectives on, what you think about maybe life outside of Earth?
I think we're in a closed system, and I think we can't get out. I think that the sun is inside, and I think that the moon is too. And I think that the sky, I don't believe in space. So whatever I saw was from here, is what I believe, whether it was military or something that's been here for a long time. I can't tell you. It was creepy as fuck, and it looked dangerous. It did not give the vibe of we are here, let us speak to your leader. It gave the vibe of camouflage, you can't see me, you don't know what I'm doing.
Bro, like massive stealth.
It just, and it was so big,
scary
and
stealth,
terrifying, that it just made me believe that there's more that we're just being lied to about. And I just just for example, the whole Epstein thing that's just recently came out, it's like, oh, this was going on, it's like, wow.
Yeah, there's so much. But I think what's interesting too, something else that you guys said in regards to that story and where you were in proximity to like a nuclear site and didn't. So a big part of like a lot of the sightings that have happened, especially from military personnel, they have all been, not all of them of course, but a lot of them have been in the proximity or right above or right at a base where we have nuclear bunkers. And one of the things that they've talked about is that, all of the electricity was on, but they shut down the reactors, like to where they couldn't be switched on or off. They just shut them down. And this has happened like all over the world at nuclear sites, where we've had missiles pointed at different people or whatever, but the UFOs will be like sighted or seen over those particular areas, and they shut the shit down, to where we can't actually use it. Like it becomes inoperable, even though all the electricity in the place actually still works. So these are like some of the things that are very intriguing, and it made me think about that when you
directly on
talked
that note,
about where you guys were.
I think the think tank in general, the notion is that these entities arrive in order to divert nuclear warfare, because it's in the greater, I'm a rose-colored glasses, half glass full, positive dude. Like that is just, I know that's who I am, and I own it gladly. And so I like to think, or I tend to find myself thinking that these moments that they arrive and that they disarm what could be all-out nuclear winters, who knows, is also kind of a statement to our insignificance in all of this. Like, you know, here we are, little infantile things like pressing buttons to destroy each other over God knows what. And there are these larger shepherds, I don't know what else to consider it, that are like, yeah, y'all need to go ahead and put those toys down. We're going to make sure you don't do anything stupid. Let's not bring about what could create a ripple effect that's unfathomable. Like, we can't even conceive what it could mean if we incur that one tiny blip here. How does that ripple effect ripple out? And that's the butterfly effect and so many other things that like correlate. And this is where my brain goes with it, is like really back to we are space dust. We are a moment in this existence here.
We're all just
we are so irrelevant.
atoms.
And like these types of conversations, Gio, is like us breaking out. Like if we are stuck here and we are being herded and we are being watched and monitored, like these conversations are our escape, and this is freedom.
Yeah.
So
we're the anomaly. Some people think that we are the aliens. Like we are,
descended.
Yeah, absolutely, and have been manipulated and adjusted to be what it is that we are today.
I feel like we are the ghetto of it all.
I'm actually
that is
gonna sing a
I feel like we are the product of the universe.
We ain't visiting that planet.
Like, sing a song at this hip hop show on Friday called "Earth Is Ghetto."
I'm ready for it. I appreciate the existence. But clearly there's so many things that we just simply don't know, don't have the capacity to know. I don't think a lifetime would give us any time to learn the shit that we really fuck it. The creepy question. I think it would literally blow our minds in like the most general sense of that, to learn some of the shit that's really out there. Like you could literally see your head just exploding from whatever the knowledge is, because you ain't supposed to know it right now.
I recommend anybody who wants to know more to go and search Billy Carson. He is
Bill
phenomenal.
Carson? He's a trip.
Phenomenal, because he's done his research, and you can tell he cites sources dating all the way back to ancient times and
Sumeria,
manuscripts, Sumeria, the Anunnaki. Man, I mean, like the rabbit hole runs so deep, and it you do have to kind of take it in little chunks just to be able to digest. Like, fuck, where are we from? And all the things that I've ever been told it was a fucking lie. And you saying
we Marcus? This is what I think. This is what to answer your question on what I think about what I saw. This is my end game on it. I think they're interdimensional beings. I think that that's the purpose of CERN, is to get in contact with breaking into a different dimension and really trying to see if someone's there. And I think that
we already know that they are. Like that's been kind of scientifically proven that this is a multi-dimensional.
I mean, we're sitting here telling you the story. It's totally proven. We are sitting here telling you proof.
But would it not be that we can't see?
But would it not be retarded as fuck? Would it not be retarded as fuck or just how selfish are we to think that we're the only ones here?
How arrogant.
Like in whatever capacity,
right?
We're the only ones that exist in all of what they've told us exists.
But that cognitive dissonance is strong, though, right? Nobody wants to be out of the ordinary, so no one wants to be with the ordinary fear.
I see what you did. That was nice.
We saw what you did.
Can you jump a close?
We saw what you did.
For the be with the ordinary fear. I see what you did there.
Okay, I have one more question to hop into, because we only have about 6 or 7 minutes. The show went by pretty fast.
Okay,
so we can't jump.
Okay, no. We're gonna do hip hop with these guys.
Okay.
We're gonna do it, and then we're gonna
skip my last alien question. We may have to revisit.
Hey, I'm down.
Okay, so of course we're celebrating 50 years of hip hop.
Yeah.
All of you are hip hop artists.
Yeah.
Okay. So of course I have to ask at least one good hip hop question.
Just one.
Okay. And it goes.
It's not a trivia question.
A little something like this. So the 50-year anniversary of hip hop is a significant moment in culture. Of course, we all agree. How do you all approach your role in contribution to the genre as non-black MCs? And while
we do
being
have a Latino.
I said non-black, while being mindful of its historical roots. So how do you, how would you,
That's a good one.
yeah, how do you approach your role and contribution to the genre, as, and still be respectful, I guess, of the historical roots of the genre?
Right. Man, I mean, at the core, what the music did for me when I was a kid, like, and how it became ingrained in my life.
Yeah.
I grew up listening to everything, right? My parents love music. My dad collects records, so there was always music playing. So, I got funk, soul, jazz, disco, rock, like everything. But hip hop was the one thing that was my own apart from what I was growing up around, right? Like that was my introduction into the line of the lineage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but that was back like, Beastie Boys, Run DMC. And from that point on, I just vibed with it, right? Like, and I think that was also, as I started getting into my teen years and becoming more aware of the world around me, and race and cultures and American history, and hip hop was a route to teach me things that I wouldn't know about other cultures otherwise, right?
Wow.
Like, I'm not immersed in some of these cultures. I might have run on the fringes of like, dangerous lifestyles and gangs and drugs and stuff like that, but there were people in the world that have lives I can't comprehend. So,
Right.
Where was I at with that? I got lost.
You were talking about the various cultures
impact.
that you
Yeah,
don't.
so the cultures, and then my mom started dating this black dude, Ralph, when I was in junior high. He was a car salesman, sold her a car.
Shout out to Ralph.
Sold her a relationship. He passed away a couple years ago.
RIP to him.
Where's the back?
So yeah, he ended up being a part of my life until I was out of high school and moved out or whatever, and that was tumultuous. But that's another experience in black culture, right? Like that I wouldn't have otherwise. I got a different perspective on things. Plus, my parents, my grandparents were real cool. They're we're from Michigan, Flint, Michigan, right outside of Detroit. So Soul Town, it's just. It's always been around. It's always been an open box for me to play in. Nobody was ever like dissuading me from, not listening, except for like the era of like NWA, Two Live Crew.
Yeah.
Because I was in middle school.
Well,
my mom would find them tapes.
Yeah, I think that was all of us though. To be fair,
That's all.
To be fair,
Why, Uncle Luke? Why?
Yeah, like
my
breaking
daddy
my
would be
tapes
listening
with
to Luke, though.
hammers.
Shout out to him.
Hammering my tapes, so then I have to make fake tapes out of her tapes.
Yeah. Oh, you was putting a little paper in it. Recording over it.
Oh gosh, I can't. John Cougar Mellencamp.
Yeah.
I would flip John Cougar Mellencamp tapes.
I don't even know who that is, and I'm not even gonna ask
He's
right
like
now.
a Midwest, Midwest
Why is he
80s
like
rocker.
this?
Okay.
But anyway, so those opened my eyes to things, and then as I went through high school, I hung around with a very diverse group of people. I had a lot of circle of friends, lots of people that lived completely different lives, people with money, people without, people who were living good lives, families together, other people that were just in shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, see how these lives come together. And I've always been a deep, analyze everything around me kind of person. And then, hip hop was something that I could vibe with in a different way because I like to write. When I was young, I would write and draw. Those were the two things I did all the time, write and draw. Anybody knew me as a kid, they knew that those were two things I did. Okay. And then when I started hanging out with people who were like, yo, you should try to flip that into rhymes or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? At first I'm like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I wasn't on some Eminem type stuff, you know what I mean? I was never like, oh, I want to be like a radio star, like a big star doing music, but it was a way of expression. And that's what hip hop, like all music is expression, right? But the way hip hop molded these elements of lifestyles, right? Like, you know, the elements of the culture and how that culminates, you know, separately, those are all great entities and those are all great lanes that people can weave into their lives. But, you know, when it culminates like Voltron, you know what I mean? The energy is just a different type of energy than if I go to a rock show or a country show, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, even when it's competitive, it's celebratory, you know what I mean? Like, watching how hip hop is transformed over these 50 years, well, not my 45 years of life, is pretty profound. And the impact it had on my life and the friendships and relationships that my interest in that music brought into my life at a time that I really needed it, because I was just going through some shit, you know, out of high school, go to jail, and then going in and out of jail trying to figure out what I'm gonna do with my life. And they're like, yo, man, I'm just gonna focus on music and like create music, take advantage of being in my 20s. And that's what I did, and that's why I know everybody in this room. But I think as far as responsibility, it's like, you know, there's things you don't say, there's things you don't do, you know what I'm saying? My part in it is to be an open mouth, an advocate, you know what I mean? Like, I have a mixed child, you know what I mean? So that's a different personal stake in my life. He's been dealing with stuff since he was little. Like things I didn't, you know, I knew it was going to be eventual, but like, yo, that early was kind of crazy. So I know it's there, and, you know, I'm an advocate, I'm a fighter, you know, and in my music, I think I expressed my stance on life and, you know, where things stood with me. I haven't made music since, you know, 2012. I focused everything into art.
That's why you got that shirt on.
But we still appreciate you.
I had a kid. I had a kid and made some decisions about what was occupying space and time in my life, and like what was coming back from it and where I want to put my energy. And that was just a decision, right? But it's always a part of me. I get to, you know, go to shows, support friends, cop music and merch, and try to link up as much as I can with people. But those are my people. Like, y'all are my people. You know what I mean? Like, that's my family outside of my family. Sorry I occupied so much time.
That's okay.
No, that was just a fucking eloquently beautiful answer. So, real quick, I think, you know, the exploitation of black art is like a constancy. And I think it's brushed under the rug or looked the other way because people don't want to acknowledge when art forms are taken and manipulated into something that's used as a machine for messaging that is non-prolific and takes away from, I think, the inherent voice of the unheard, or the inherent, you know, voice of the culture that is least heard, at least. And, you know, what hip-hop meant for coming up in its existence was creating a pathway to try to express socioeconomic issues and racial inequality, and in a new way that even jazz wasn't able to accomplish anymore. Rock music had completely taken over, you know, R&B. And so I think hip hop was birthed from the pressure of society needing to find a way to speak on the injustices and the differences between living in that kind of melting pot environment and living above it and taking from it. And so, like, when I found hip hop at such a young age, 6-7 years old, listening to my cousins older than me, and, you know, in their car, and like rap master tapes, so like, you know, Just Ice and Eric B. Rakim and Fat Boys, and you know, stuff like that. Like, that's my very first memories of it. And so all I ever remember is from there, like, getting my allowance money and scrounging up together. Like, I think the very first tape I bought was Candy Band Knockin' Boots, or I forget what the name of the tape was. It had Knockin' Boots on it, where he's like on it like this. And, you know, so these are like these moments in time that I was 9 years old or 10 years old when that happened, right? So like, it's always been a part of me, but I think as I grew up inside of music, you know, punk rock and hip hop defined me. And definitely as an 80s baby and coming up in the 90s and living in Austin, there really wasn't a lot of race caste. It was caste systems, but all the races were stuck in different castes in Austin coming up. And so, not to say that racism didn't exist, because that would be a fallacy, but to say that I acknowledge the fact that I am always a guest inside of hip hop, but I am also an anthropologist, and I also have a duty to leave like something behind. So like I live under the mantra of all we have is what we leave behind. So when you ask what is my acknowledgement and my role as a Caucasian in hip hop, it's to know what my platform is, to choose what message I'm speaking on, to try to do my best to speak on it in a way that takes matters that are relevant to me, or at least relevant culturally, and I can regurgitate them or spit them or style them out in a way that is enjoyable on the ear. It's palatable, sonically sound, fresh, but also impactful. So
I love that. Okay,
Cool.
Gio, we're gonna end it with you. Tell us.
Can you read that question one more time?
Okay, so it's basically thinking about the 50-year anniversary and you know what it means for the culture. So how do you approach your role and your contribution to the genre? You know, as a a non-black
As a
MC,
Latino.
as a Latino MC.
Truthfully, as a kid, I never felt like it was something that I could just hop into. I felt like it was definitely African American's thing, and I wasn't invited, but I wanted to be a part of it. And so I fell in love with beats of hip hop artists, and I would write, and I would, even though they would be rapping their song, whatever, it'd be platinum and whatever's going on, I would write and rap my song while it was playing, because I didn't have beats back then. So I would just somehow mentally separate the word, tune it out, and I would make my own songs. And then I started getting out to these parties and meeting people, and ciphers were a thing, and rap battles were a thing, and I was like, wow, this is everything I love. You know, I love music, and I love this challenge, and I love the competitiveness of it, and it was just like being in a room filled with just people that just got it. You know what I mean? And once it hit you like that, it was like home. You know what I mean? It was like, okay, it's for everybody. You know what I mean? And so it gave me the inspiration to jump in, you know, and be a part of the hip hop scene. And you know, as a Mexican American, I got a lot of grief out of my own people too. You know, when I was a kid, because back then it was a gangster era. You know, back in '94, hip hop was really rough, and school was rough back in my day. You know what I mean? If you were you had to be in a gang, or you had to be running away somehow because you weren't trying to get jumped. So I mean, you had to be about it, and hip hop made me, you know, when my dad couldn't be there, hip hop was my dad. You know what I mean? When I didn't know how to square up with somebody, hip hop was telling me how to defend myself. Hip hop was telling me how to stand up right and say it with my chest. You know what I mean? And you know, big props to my dad. My dad worked hard, and he worked like his ass off, and that's why he wasn't really so much in our lives. It wasn't that he was a bad dad; he was just always working. But hip hop, it was a big part of my life because it was just there, and it was part of my time. And then people just started telling me, "Hey, man, you got something there," and I'd be like, "Really? You know, like y'all sure y'all hearing my little Latino butt, right?" I'm so honored to be a part of hip hop that I feel like I'm this small, you know, in it, and it's just something that's always been so powerful in my life. I feel like everyone's life, like you said, I think that it's a communication tool. It's the news report that's on the street. It's telling people what we're dealing with. It's just giving hip hop. That's all I can really say. I think that the small contribution that I have to it is that I'm allowing other Latinos to be engaged as well. They're saying, "Hey, man, we all belong to this, and we all do." And I think it's a great thing that allows us to all be a melting pot and hold each other's hands in this time. And it's just kind of like a legendary time for me for Dallas because of the amount of talent that I was able to meet and
sure.
be with, you know, and it's just a proud thing that I think that everybody that's been a part of the hip hop scene in DFW or just hip hop in general, you know, the 50 years is this special thing, and it will always be. I'm getting chills just talking about this stuff. That's how deep it is. It's like, man, I couldn't say enough about what hip hop has done for my life and what it's done for communities and what it's done and what it's doing in the future for all of us. I mean, YouTubers, podcasts, everything. It's all hip hop. I think.
For sure.
I love that. Well, this is beautiful. This has been an amazing time. We definitely in the future are gonna have to have y'all back to talk more UFOs and paranormal shit, because I love that shit.
And special energies. So
we got the ghost stories.
Yeah.
Got some info.
But before we go, please let us know what is happening next for you guys. I know there's some shows coming up. By the time this airs, the show would have already arrived. But please go ahead, let us know the different shows, the different merch, and all of that. Please, starting with you, Flo.
I ain't got no shows coming up, but you can get at me on socials at Bum Theory, BUMTHEARY. And I've got other like Bump Theory designs for just strictly design.
He's wearing one, guys. He's wearing one. So he forgot to.
This was a recent flex. I flipped the Dart logo, Dart Rail. If you're from Dallas, you know what the Dart Rail and Dart Bus. So I flipped the Triple D. This was a limited run, but I'm trying to get my apparel stuff rolling. I got tons of designs, but still figuring out logistics. Hot wax apparel.
All right,
you know what I mean. So, follow me on social. Let's connect. I'm not boring at all.
Monster.
All right. So I got a show with our eloquent host here tomorrow, but it'll air. This will air afterwards. It's called Varsity something or other. Man, it's a Haltom Theater, and it's Kilo and Mocha and myself and Barnyardist and other talent. It's gonna be celebrity. So that's the next show. But then as far as like what else I'm doing in general, you know, I got a whole store basically from skateboards to caps to turntables to boom boxes to street art collectibles. You know, work heavily with Graffiti King, so heavy in the Web3 space. You guys get at me if anybody's trying to figure out how to move into that space from where you are now. Find me everywhere at Munster Vision. That's everywhere at Munster Vision. I got a metaverse performance coming up near Halloween, and just out there pushing all my stuff. So
Yep.
I'm actually in the works of making an EP.
Oh, that's nice.
Shout out to our boy. I don't know if y'all know Steve Wick, Hologram Daddy.
Sure.
And he hooked me up with some fire. So I'm in the process of putting some music together. You guys can find me at Excalibur_1 on Instagram. I do a lot of funny stuff on my stories. But aside from that, I'll be posting music on my storylines to keep everyone updated, since I keep getting harassed about needing to do this, which is fine because I need it. I love it. I've been needing to do it, and you know, as we get older, life gets busier and hectic. So this is definitely a passion of mine, and just follow me and you'll see.
Awesome. Hey. Well, we appreciate you guys coming out. This has been an absolute blast. I can't wait to air this show. Of course, make sure you follow us. Shout out to Overall Media. We are Sace and Soulfly. You can follow us at Sace and A&D Soulfly.
Spell it out.
I'm your girl Mocha Soulfly, and that is
Big Daddy. God damn it.
So we will see you guys next time.
Why you do this to us?
Thank you for having us. We appreciate it.
Hey.
Later.